Welcome to real estate investing. Yes, we are talking about being a millionaire, becoming a millionaire before the age of 30. I am Brent Daniels.
I'm Ryan Zolin.
And joining us today,
what's going on, guys? Got Albert here in the house.
That is right. That is Ryan's business partner, and he is going to be adding into the show as often as possible. We're really excited.
Absolutely.
Today we are just going to kind of break down, go briefly into my history.
Yep.
Right, so that we
dive.
can all get to know each other a little bit better here. But before we do, I want to open this thing up. Listen, the point of the show, everybody, is to give instruction, to give inspiration, to give some structure, to really to go after the goal of becoming a millionaire before the age of 30.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, got it. And listen, this is two sides of the coin here, right? Because Ryan is 23 years old. He is just right there about to be a millionaire, and I just turned 40. Why am I on this show? Because I was unable to do that before the age of 30, and I am going to be the cautionary tale. I am going to let you know of all the little traps, all the little quicksands that could keep you from hitting that goal. That is the point of the show, is to let you see both sides of the coin.
Absolutely.
All right? Before we do, let me hit you with some facts.
Let's
you ready
do it.
with this?
I'm ready.
Okay. The average millennial millionaire owns 3 houses.
Okay.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? The average millennial. So the average millennial millionaire owns 3 houses. All right. This is based on the survey of consumer finances. The difference between somebody that owns real estate and that rents real estate. The difference is the people that own it have a net worth on average of $254,000.
Okay.
The people that rent have a net worth of $6,270.
Wow. I did not expect that one to be that low.
40 times difference.
Wow.
That is a 40 times difference when you own real estate versus renting. Absolutely incredible. This one's interesting. The average millionaire on their owner-occupied property only owes about 30% left on their property.
Wow.
Yeah, the loan is about 30%. So they have 70% equity in their properties. So you see a lot of millionaires pay off their properties within 3 to 5 years of buying it.
Wow.
Really interesting. And the last one, 76% of millionaires exercise 4 times a week.
I believe that.
Why do you think that is?
Mental, physical strength will allow you to be able to be more proactive in your business.
You gotta have that energy.
Absolutely.
You gotta have a lot of energy. You've got to be able to deal with a lot of things going wrong. You have to deal with a lot of fires.
As I'm sure you've probably said this before too, but being in real estate, you're a part-time firefighter. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. Not only that, but I just think that you get that freedom of schedule where you can understand, okay, wait, I can fit my schedule around when I can exercise, when I can get that.
And that's one of the questions I have for you, because I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, you work out middle of the day?
Yes.
There you go.
I work out at noon most days. 1 o'clock on Mondays, noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So today, right after the show.
There you go.
Yep. And I prefer that. I like letting my body warm up before I exercise.
For sure.
So let's hit it.
Absolutely.
You've got some questions. You want to dive into this?
So for those of you that obviously are jumping in from my audience too, we want to get to know Brent Daniels on a personal level. We want to know what roadblocks you hit, and we're going to dive into all that. So let's start right from the beginning.
Yes.
You got out of high school.
Yes.
And you were 18.
Wait, hit me with that. Hit me with that.
I think we got some payback here.
Yeah.
So
last week we put Ryan's senior photo. Now we've got high school Brent popping up. There he is.
There we go.
Bleach tips and all.
Oh, man.
There it is. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
All right. So 18, got out of high school. What happened next?
That is when I was growing up, this is the really interesting part. So growing up, family was always around. Family was always close. We always sat down for dinner.
Okay.
Every dinner, we went around the table and said, what's one nice thing that happened to you today? It was like this very, very comfortable soft upbringing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of turbulence. There wasn't a lot of real drama growing up. And I think that influenced me later, and I'll explain why I set that up. But when I was growing up, it was all about athletics. I had a choice. My parents said, listen, you can't just go to school and come home. You either have to go to school and play sports after school, or you have to get a job. Okay, that was it.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I'll just play sports. You know, that was what gave me a lot of self-esteem. It gave me a lot of confidence. So I would play a lot of sports, and that went well. And so I did that. I played basketball, football, and track throughout high school. And that was fantastic. And so going into, during high school, I wasn't reading, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I wasn't reading Think and Grow Rich. I wasn't going into this, I need to provide value so that I can make an income. It wasn't registering. Like I didn't really think about it. I didn't really think about money. I didn't think about, you know, growing and being an entrepreneur. I was very much in a bubble of be an athlete and hopefully get a scholarship to go to school. Okay. So that's essentially what happened. And I was able to get an invited walk-on to NAU. Okay. Which is a school in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I went and played college football there.
Okay. What did you go to college for?
I went initially my freshman year. I went to be a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for teaching? Was it?
I had
like
great
this?
teachers. And I always liked that. I always liked being able to. I always felt that I learned more by teaching. Right. I always felt like and I was always the presenter. Like people would do the work in group projects, and I would be the one that presented. So I think I always had kind of like a salesmanship type of, you know, vibe, or at least I was okay communicating. But I once you get into the teaching thing, you realize, and you do some investigation, you realize what they make and what kind of lifestyle that looked like. I switched over to finance and economics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So finance and economics, and I'm breaking this down, like we're going to go very detailed.
Yeah.
So finance and economics then, how did that transition getting out of college? Did you get a degree in that?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I got a degree in it, but in college I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it changed my whole brain.
Changed everything.
Changed my whole brain.
For sure.
That took me down the Think and Grow Rich rabbit hole. And by the way, guys, we're going to open this up. Most of the show is going to be questions and comments on how to build this up, how to get real estate deals, how to start with wholesaling, and really how to go up the ladder of building your success to where you can be a millionaire before 30. So make sure while we're going here, this is just warming it up so it gives enough time for you to put in and get your comments in. So make sure you're commenting. Alejandra's going to put up the questions, and we're going to answer them. Okay? So, yeah, my buddy, you know, my Albert, Mike Mahoney, who is usually in that chair on Wednesdays, we grew up, and his dad was... he worked for a company that was like a multi-level marketing thing. And they grew up very wealthy.
For sure.
Right? They grew up in this big house, and they grew up with like fancy furniture, and they had curtains on their windows, you know, instead of like blinds at my house. You know what I mean? Like it was just a real fancy, and I was like, what does he do? So Mike was kind of following in the footsteps of his dad, and his dad gave him Rich Dad Poor Dad, which came to me, and then Think and Grow Rich, and then it just went down, and then it went to Tony Robbins, and then it went to
just that rabbit hole,
all
just
these old school real estate coaching programs, the Carlton Sheets and the Robert Allens and all that. And I remember being in college, you know, 21, and I was just going through books and going through books and going through books and highlighting them and going through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it seemed so foreign to me, Ryan. I didn't understand. Like I understood what the words that they were saying, but the context was way beyond me. Like how are they getting rental properties? How are they talking to homeowners?
Loans, what are these?
It was very foreign, very foreign. Yeah.
So when you got out of college then, it was the economics finance degree. What happened after college?
Right after
corporate job?
In college, I got my real estate license.
Okay.
So during the summers in college, I got my real estate license and was ready. So right after college, I was looking for a brokerage to join, similar to you.
So you jumped right into real estate then at 22?
22.
Okay.
Yeah, 18 years ago.
How did you get started in real estate? Was it working the traditional, obviously you had your license, was it rentals, was it commercial, was it helping families buy and sell?
It was helping families buy and sell.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2004 and 2005, the market was fantastic. So there was a lot of movement, and it kind of gave me a false sense of security because I thought I was great at it. Right. But really, the market was just fantastic.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't really putting into work to develop the skills to be really good. And I always wanted to be a real estate investor, but at the time, there wasn't like a lot of real estate investing coaching.
Right.
There was like none. It was all
This is back before even wholesaling was even really.
Oh yeah. This is before. This is back when everything was like find a foreclosure.
Right.
And try to buy it off the market.
Or go to the auction.
Yeah, go to the auction. Or
Yep.
find a foreclosure and knock on their door. Or
you're just gonna go. Yep.
Yeah, or just hope that you get something off the MLS.
For sure.
So what we started doing was sending fax offers to hundreds of people a day on the MLS in the hottest market ever, and sometimes they would work, sometimes they didn't, and we would get accepted offers, but then we didn't know if this was a deal or not a deal.
Right.
We didn't have that, that's the biggest thing. We were talking about it before the show. When you're starting out in real estate, the hardest part is deal or no deal.
Of course.
Is this a deal or not?
Right. And once you can figure that out, I mean, the rest is...
That's it. The rest is rinse and repeat.
Seriously.
The rest is just having quality conversations with distressed property owners.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, do you feel like you used your degree? Do you regret going to college?
No, I don't. I really made some life-changing relationships in college.
Yep.
I had life-changing moments in college. It was just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. So, I think that now, your generation that has so much access to information and instruction and almost apprenticeship on the internet.
You could figure out
have
anything.
Options.
You could figure out anything. Like
Yeah.
we could actually bring up Albert here. We've got our office building out in Mesa, and all of our furniture in there, he welded together by just looking up a YouTube video. It
Yeah.
took him 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, with the amount of information that is just easily accessible just by Google
Yep.
and YouTube,
Yep.
there's no excuses as to
Right.
why. So,
Right.
Okay. So then now in real estate, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it leads up to the market tanking.
Yeah, so the issue that we talk about what got me to a position where I was totally broke, not even broke, but I was in debt $742,000 on an office lease that I signed up for. We'll kind of get into that. But part of growing up in a family where they tell you you're the best, like every night it was like, you're the best, Brent, and I'd have to say in the whole wide world. And then we go around and we talk about one nice thing, and it was this wonderful environment. Was it almost like I didn't have any chips on my shoulder?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I didn't have that like gangster fight for it, hustle. Like you're starting from nothing, go after it. Like most people, like people watching right now, like a lot of people have that fire. That's that fire in their belly to get out of whatever situation that they're in and go after and this goal of being a millionaire before you're 30. Right? It's because they either grew up with not a lot or maybe they had stuff and lost it or whatever else. I didn't have that chip on my shoulder, so I almost like manufactured it. I like self-sabotage. I went and bought 5 rental properties that I knew weren't good buys. Okay. And I was like, well, the market's going to keep going up. Mm-hmm. I'll just sell it in a couple of years, cash in. Well, the market didn't go up. Market crashed. Yep. I foreclosed on those 5 properties, and it was because my ego was there kind of being like, you can do anything, just push it, see where the limits of where you can fail are at, right? It was like literally I felt like I could, everything I touched turned to gold, and then it didn't. Right. And that was a huge learning lesson.
So where are we at timeline? Is this 05, 06?
This is 05, 06. This is 2008.
Okay.
Right? So I'm 27.
Okay. Yep. 27. Yep. Now, when you were in your 20s, I mean, it sounded like you got into real estate at the right time. You just followed the wave up. What do you think there was something like? Do you think there was something that you could have done differently in real estate that would have maybe given a different outcome of you losing those houses, or do you think it was like you'd said, ego that just was, I could do this, I don't?
If I would have had a coach, a mentor that was already doing it and really, really like had that instruction, it would have been a lot better for sure. But in my head, I was like, those guys just want my money. They're not going to give me the attention. I'm going to just run this thing on my own,
Right.
and I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen it work 50% of the time, but
Sure.
then the other part, it's like you could take
can
that.
work.
Yeah. And I'm 1,000% on board. That's what got me further along, was that I was willing to spend the money initially into courses, coaching,
Yep.
mentoring, events, whatever the case was, to go and be around these like-minded individuals, because I could learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
You could hear them say, I invested into this. I messed up because I didn't create the formula correctly. I didn't have the money. I had an ego, whatever the case was.
Mm-hmm.
But having a mentor and coach, definitely.
Listen, when you're
big
22 and you're in real estate and you're making six figures, multiple six figures,
Yep.
that feels like millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yep.
then you look at your expenses,
Right.
and then you pay taxes,
Yep.
and then you look at your take home. And then the other thing that I did was I was always splitting 50-50 with a business partner, right?
Okay.
Which was Mike Mahoney.
Oh, gotcha. At that point, you guys
So
were 50,
we were 50-50,
Wow.
like as business partners. So we kept growing and growing and growing, and it was always getting half of the full pie.
For sure.
Right? And that was fine. I was fine with that. I was used to team sports.
Right.
I liked that. But in my head, I was like, I'm not taking home enough. The other thing is the big mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is they go, okay, let's set a salary for ourselves of
Right,
like 5,000, 7,500, 10 grand a month.
Yep.
And then we'll just take
Yep.
that. The rest we'll keep in the business account to grow the business. And then you start expanding faster than you need to. You start hiring people that you don't need to because you're in your mind, you've got this vision of this huge company. And then all of a sudden, you're not doing the things, you're not doing
Right.
the lead generation to keep
Right.
those people fed.
Gotcha.
So it's led me a lot to all of these experiences have led me to be able to be the entrepreneur that I am now and also the coach that I am now.
For sure.
That's why I try to get people to avoid a lot of those mistakes. I think that
course.
as a business, you should have 3 months in reserves in your account,
Okay.
and I think that the owner should scrape everything off the top from that. And then that gives you really disciplined. Because then you set the goals of what are my personal income goals?
Right.
Well, we both want to make 20 grand if you have a partner, or if it's just yourself. I want to make $20,000 a month. That means I have to keep my expenses low so
Yep.
that I can get that.
Of course. Yep.
Now you're squeezing as much as you can out of everything you got.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Are we flowing? Okay.
Typical question here.
Mhm.
Biggest regret? Was it the 5 houses?
No, I mean, listen. Warren Buffett has said this for years and years and years, and it is so true to me. And women can change this as well. But he talks about the 3 L's:
Okay.
liquor, leverage, and ladies. All right. And
Okay.
if you're a female out there, it could be lads, whatever you want to call it, lads instead of ladies, right?
Okay.
But that was in my 20s. That was like, boom, that was it. It was having fun. It was going out. It was hitting the scene. It was getting dressed up. It felt good. Like you feel like you need to start a family and you need to find a person and you need to go out there and you need to experience life. And that was that first L was the liquor and then ladies. And then that whole thing of starting a family and this whole thought of being the man and like going out there and being suave and charming. That was really important. And then leverage. Leverage was buying these properties with basically huge loans that ended up burying me later. And leverage can be also that office lease that I signed a 10-year lease,
Right.
because I was leveraging that property for 10 years that I was committing to, and then it all fell apart.
Okay.
So the 3 L's I think are really something to investigate when you're between that 18 to 30.
Right.
I mean, that's prime time for those 3.
So seriously.
Right?
Yeah.
Because now you can get a loan for something. Oh my gosh, I could get a loan for a car.
Credit
I could
cards.
get a lease
Credit
for
cards.
a car.
Yeah.
I can get credit cards
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I could buy properties that may or may not cash flow, but you're just thinking that they'll appreciate forever. You know, all of these things, the 3 L's got me big, Ryan. They got me big. And so you just got to watch that. I think that there is a time to celebrate. I think that there's a time to have fun. I think there's a time to enjoy life. I don't think that you have to be, like a recluse and stay away from everything in your 20s.
Let's talk about that then, because I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that there's this grind. You're just put your head down and
Yeah.
go. And I see a lot of it with 18 to even, I mean, I'm 23. I could speak on it. 23, like you see these guys that are just like, give up your free time, give up your weekends, make these sacrifices now. What's your opinion of the work hard, play hard for the people that feel like I don't want to give away 5 to 10 years of my life to go into this?
It depends on the person.
For sure.
Right? It depends on what they get, what is true joy, what's happiness, what's fun for them.
Right.
Right? What's fulfilling. But I think that if you're going hard all the time, I see a lot of burnout.
Yep.
I see a lot of shooting stars that start young and they do really well. They make a lot of money and then they're gone. Right? They're just tired of it. They're unhappy. They're unfulfilled, and that's sad to me. That's really something that I think that you have to have a nice balance on the things that you really enjoy, and I think that you need to be able to get pride and confidence out of things outside of just your business.
For sure.
Right? Whether that be relationships, whether that be family, whether that be some sort of hobby or some sort of passion or something that you do. So I think that there should be a good balance there, but let's make no mistake. You got to be absolutely on it. It is an obsession to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
It is. You are always listening to things in the car. You're always hearing about somebody else that's got some creative idea and doing great things. There's always whispers of people doing, amazing things, and you hear that and you get inspired by that.
Right.
All of those things are always going all the time, and I think that can be healthy as well. So I think to answer your question, I think that there can be a good balance of having fun with it. I just think that you need to make sure that you stay obsessed with your business more than you're obsessed with, liquor, leverage, and love, or ladies, or lads, or whatever.
So,
you know what I mean?
What was your obsession with real estate? Was it the whole back in college going through Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich?
I think the idea of getting freedom of schedule through passive income hit me hard.
Yeah.
That hit me really, really, really hard, being able to buy something, an asset that will appreciate so that it has value in the future, but also can give you income that you don't have to work for. Because here's how it works. You work, you provide a ton of value, and that's your income.
Yep.
And then you take this money, we talked about it on the show yesterday, you take these money, and this money's like your employees now.
Yep.
Now you send those things out, and your money starts working for you.
Right.
Now, when your money starts working for you, which 85% of the United States, people never get there.
Yeah, they don't get there.
Because of the Parkinson's law that I talked about yesterday, where your expenses equal your income.
Yep.
Your income goes up, your expenses follow.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So you never have enough to invest to be able to let your money work for you.
Okay.
But once you get to that point where your money's working for you, that's when it gets exciting. That's when you start really making an impact. And that, I realized that at 20 years old. That made sense at 20 years old. That you have to make the money and then have that money work for you.
So now,
but I spent it on
the wrong levels.
Yeah.
So 27 is where we were at.
Yes.
What did 27 to 30 look like then?
Terrible.
Okay.
Yeah. So the crash of the market that took a huge hit to just my ego.
Yep.
That was like the everything was going great, and then everything just went boom. So I just went into a shell, and I just wasn't out. I wasn't being proactive. I was kind of, just licking my wounds for a good 3 years, for real.
No, and I believe it. Dude, I've seen guys that were in 08 that were multi-millionaires that are now doing nothing. They're working a corporate job, making 30, 40 a year. And it's because they're so scared and they never got back on the bull. And it's a very real conversation. So I've heard some horror stories about the crash.
So that's why that's why I wear this shirt every day. That's why I promote talking to people. That's why every entrepreneur, I don't care what business you are, but especially in real estate, if you are not on the phone all the time, all day long, your business will not grow.
Yep.
And I don't care if it's just networking with other really good business people, or if it's going after deals, or if it's your team, or if it's the people that are managing your investments.
You have to be
on the phone
it's communication
all day.
All day.
You got to talk to people.
Yep.
You have to talk to people, and that is the biggest challenge that I think people between 18 and 30 have, is just understanding and having the confidence and the courage to go out and pick up the phone and talk to somebody, build a relationship. And I see people like you, people like Albert, you guys are out there, you guys are getting the instruction, you guys are finding people, mentors, you're always asking and asking and asking and asking, being on the phone. Yep. And that's what puts you in a position to be a millionaire in the next 30 days.
We always say on the team, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and how they know you.
That's it.
And that's like the biggest cheat code I could always give to anybody.
Yep.
So what do you think you could have done differently, I guess, like in those 10 years? Is there one thing?
I think number one is had somebody that I could go to.
Like a resource, a mentor, a coach.
Number one there. Number two is what I learned later in life, before you commit to anything that is some sort of leverage or a big financial decision, have an attorney look at it.
I like that.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't want to because I was like, oh, attorneys are so intimidating.
Now, are you talking like
offices?
Are you talking real estate deals, or are you talking like any like
yeah, I mean anything that I'm going to buy and hold, or anything that you're going to commit to, whether it be an office lease for a building, whether it be some sort of big purchase. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking about that office lease, what was the reason for signing a 10-year lease? Was that like the norm back in commercial? I know now it's like 3-5 if they're...
No, but I didn't know.
Didn't know?
I didn't know. They're like, hey, how long do you want to sign? We're like, we're going to be growing this business forever. What's the longest?
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Get a better deal.
And they're like 10 years. We're like, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would do more tenant improvements. TIs is what it's called.
For sure, of course.
For that.
Yeah.
So Brent, where did you say you learned?
Did you click the button?
Yeah, click the button.
Got it.
So where would you say you learned most of your things? Because obviously today in our generation we can Google things and find things, but as you were growing in your 20s, what was the primary source of where you learned how to do things?
I went to the RIAs, and that was interesting. So ASRIA was a big real estate investing association. It was mostly commercials for people that would come into town and teach on something and then sell from the stage. So I'd pick up a little bit here and there. I'd hear some things that people were doing. And everybody was pointing me towards buying properties at the auction, right? So buying properties at the foreclosure auction was kind of the route for real estate investing. And so I talked to some of those guys that were bidding at the auction, kind of understood, and they would bid for you down there and kind of educate on how that process worked. And so that's how I learned that. And then coming into finding wholesale was an accident. Wholesale was, I literally was out door knocking to get listings, traditional listings. And I would run into these properties that were run down, and I would bring them to an investor that I knew, Derek Jarr, a big developer here in town. And he would be like, yeah, I'll give you 3% if you go get those properties locked up. And then he would assign them for like 40 grand more. And I would go and I would look at the settlement statement, and I'd be like, wait, you're not even on here. I would check my commission. I was like, I want to make sure, because this is an off market. This isn't an MLS deal. It's off market. Was checking to see if my commission was on there.
On the bottom of that HUD.
And on there was an assignment, and it had a different company as the buyer, and it had 40,000. 3 deals, Albert. $92,000 later, I realized what wholesaling was, because I asked him, and he said, I sold the contract. And I was like, what do you mean you sold the contract? He goes, yeah, I wholesaled it. Wow. I go, what, you could do that? He goes, yeah, you can assign contracts. They pay me to get this piece of paper assigned to them. And that's when everything just went, whoa.
Blew up.
Yeah, that was incredible. So that was 2013.
So 3 deals later, what was that timeline? 3 deals took how long for you to figure that out?
That was in a month.
1 month? Well, isn't that crazy? The power of technology these days?
Yeah.
It took a month for you to learn that, but me and Ryan, we could have learned that from this.
Yeah.
A podcast
in
10 minutes before we even do a first deal.
You could learn it on this channel in 15 minutes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yep. So what happened then that really escalated your business? Was it the wholesaling deals that popped up?
Then I just went bananas.
Okay.
So I had gotten into a discipline as a real estate agent of being on the phone 3 hours a day, 9 to noon, calling to try to get listings.
Right.
So I would call expired, canceled, and for sale by owners.
For sure.
And I would try to get those people to list their properties with me. And then I went, wait, if I just drive around and get ugly houses,
You could wholesale those.
And get their phone numbers.
Yep.
I could just call them up. I don't have to go knock on doors at 120 degrees outside. And so I started doing that, and it was just fish in a barrel.
Okay.
I was just shooting fish in a barrel. And then I just started getting deal after deal after deal. And then in 2016, I joined Wholesaling Inc.'s coaching program with Tom Kroll.
Yep.
And I knew how to wholesale, but I wanted to be close to Tom Kroll. And I always think that if you want to be where somebody is, get close to them.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did. And that's how I'm here now. 4 years later, in 2017, I spoke on stage about cold calling for real estate deals, and the industry's changed.
Wow.
Everybody cold calls now.
And now the question I'm sure we might even have pop up here, but what is your best source of income now? Is it coaching? Is it real estate? Is it a specific is it rental properties?
Yeah, coaching is significant. I mean, the wholesaling business, I'll bring home $400,000 or $500,000, and then the coaching's a few times that.
Wow.
Yeah, coaching and
brand
affiliates,
brand recognition,
and everything. Yeah.
Well, man, that is quite the story, and I appreciate you breaking down that roadmap. I thought it was super important for the audience because I could tell you that the ones that are going to be able to relate are the ones that are younger, obviously under 30. They want to see what a roadmap looks like. Yeah. How did he go from this at 18 to 40 as of yesterday? Yeah. Happy belated.
Thank you.
And 40 as of yesterday to how everything's blown up. There's usually that one thing that clicks, and it sounds like to me it was that wholesaling, seeing the guy do 3 deals in 1 month. That just changed everything. You saw him go from where the average person can make 30, 40 a year in salary. He made 92 in 1 month.
Yeah.
People can't wrap their head around that, especially even like younger crowd. Like, I know the paychecks that you'd get working part-time jobs. You'd make $1,500 every 2 weeks if you were lucky.
Yeah.
If you were lucky.
I can't even. And I think that I've never had a traditional job.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. Never had
any part-time jobs or anything in high school, or
no.
Oh, your parents had the agreement where as long as you were in school while doing sports that you were.
Yeah, in college I'd get about $6,000 a summer. My parents converted their 3-car garage into a gym. My grandma gave me $2,500 to buy gym equipment.
Yes,
and I would train athletes in my parents' garage. $300 for the summer.
I love it.
I had 20 people in there, and I would train people during the summer, and so I'd have $6,000, and I didn't really have any expenses because college was paid for. I was a walk-on at NAU, and then after my first semester, they gave me a scholarship.
Yep.
And so everything was paid for. So it was a good experience. I had a little bit of money, not a tremendous amount, and I made it work. And then you go out, and you're used to $6,000 a year, and you get over 6 figures. You just get silly. You get silly with the money. You think that it's way too much. And then, again, your expenses equal your income.
Right.
And so I was never saving enough. I was never putting away enough. And I wasn't taking enough home from my business and leaving it in the business account and spending way too much money on stupid things that we thought the business needed to grow. And it was all trying to, get out of the business, get out of the day-to-day, work on the business, not in the business. And it was a huge mistake. You got to work in your business.
Absolutely.
You got to work in your business for a long time until you have enough opportunities for people to come in and take that role for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say I see a lot of people in the students that I coach where they'll tell me I need this person, this person, this person. I'm like, well, have you done these roles yourself? Yeah. And they're like, well, no, I haven't done dispo yet. I'm like, well, how are you going to train somebody to do a job that you haven't done yourself?
Yeah.
So I would agree with that.
Yeah. And now that's why I buy properties cash.
Right.
I do. One, because I think that another thing that people really need to think about is how much attention is this going to take up in my brain, right? If I go do this idea, which is a great idea, how much attention is this going to take? How much energy is this going to take? You want to go into Airbnbs? Okay, homie, that's cool. But how much energy is that going to take? Who are you going to put in that place? What happens if they disappear? How are you going to be thinking about that? Are you going to be chilling after a long week on a Saturday morning and sleeping in, and then all of a sudden your phone's getting blown up because some Airbnb person needs something and somebody's not responding? These things happen.
Oh, absolutely.
These things happen.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to protect your energy, and that's why I make the decisions that I do. That's why I buy properties cash. I'm not worried about things. I'm not worried about it being vacant. I'm not worried about, what my loan is, the debt that I'm paying on, and how much I'm going to overpay on this property because of the interest.
Right.
Anyway.
I get it.
Yep.
Any advice you'd go back and offer to yourself if you go back to 18, 20-year-old Brent?
Yes. I would learn how to be the best on the phone possible.
I like that.
Seriously, I am telling you, this thing is like 99% of success.
Yeah, literally. People don't realize that. And
99.
We were talking about that last week with me. Was when I first got in, that team threw me on the phones. I didn't even realize that was people's like biggest insecurity in this business was being on the phone. And so doing 10 or 12 hours a day on the phone, like you get over it pretty quick.
Listen, I used to do these things called Super Saturdays, right? At North & Co. Real Estate. And this is a very prestigious, they work in Arcadia.
Absolutely.
It's very high end. Like these are pros.
They know what they're doing.
Pros.
Yep.
And I would invite everybody, the whole brokerage, to come make cold calls with me on Saturday to off-market properties. 2 people would show up, and they would be so scared to get on the phone, so scared to talk to a stranger. I was like,
you're in real estate.
You're 56 years old. You've been doing this for 20 years. Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
You can't get on the phone? Get on the phone.
Right.
If I could go back, literally, if you're 16, 17, 18, whatever, and you spend 3 hours a day hunting for opportunities, calling up strangers, asking them if they would consider an offer in their on their property, you will win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
You'll win.
And what I always tell people on my team is like, if I were to tell you that any phone call you make could make you anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, would you do it?
Right.
I mean, without hesitation, you'd be on the phone, especially if it was just a 25% chance. It's a numbers game. Just keep going.
I would challenge everybody watching this that if I was standing there, or Ryan was standing there, or Albert was standing there, and we gave you $1,000 cash for every hour that you called, we would have to tear you off the phone. Right. We would literally have to tear you off the phone. Not only that, people would be. I know that there's people watching right now that would try to do 100 hours a week.
Oh, absolutely.
They would just keep going.
They would.
If we were just $1,000.
Right.
$1,000. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, hundreds. Boom. $1,000 every hour.
Right.
But then I started calculating. I was making $1,500 to $2,000 an hour when I was making calls.
Wow.
I'm just telling you.
Dude,
This is not rocket science.
That's insane.
It's just breaking through and having that courage to get on and communicate with people. And I think a lot of people are scared of that because, and I talked about it yesterday, but out of 200 people that you cold call, if you've got a distressed property list, 199 of them will not do business with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
199 people, 180 of them will flat out reject you aggressively.
Absolutely. Yep.
180 of them.
Very
the other
vulgar.
19 will kind of string you along, and it'll be a good conversation, and you're going to have to pre-qualify them, and that one will make you $15,000.
Yep.
And you can do that every 20 hours.
Now, let me ask you this. I feel like a lot of people feel very intimidated by real estate, especially younger. Like, I could tell you when I was in real estate school, one of my biggest, like, it was a dumb moment. It was like, you could tell me in real estate school, a good loan for a property is 30%. And I would have been like, all right, it's 30%, like, because you don't know. A lot of people in high school and from 16 to 18, you haven't bought a house. You don't have credit cards. You've never bought a car. Like, you don't know anything about the real world. Do you think that for people that are trying to tap into real estate, do you think that they should get licensed? Do you think that they should maybe go and work for somebody that is doing what they're wanting? Do you think it's going and just finding a mentor? Is it wholesaling, fix and flip? Where do you think they should start to get into real estate?
Yeah, I think that they should go out and get into their car, bicycle, skateboard, legs.
Okay.
Go walk around in older neighborhood, wherever they live, older neighborhoods, something that's 30 years or older, and find the ugliest houses that they can.
Okay.
Get all those addresses.
Write them down, put them in a phone.
I like the Deal Machine app. It's $40 a month if you use the TTP coupon code. Will you put that up, Matt?
Yep.
The TTP coupon code. I like that. It's $40. It gives you all the owner information. It lets you know if it's vacant or occupied or tenant occupied. It gives you all that information. You click the button.
Okay.
You send it over to batch skip tracing.
Yep.
Right, batch skip tracing to get the phone number.
Okay.
You get the phone number and you call them.
Okay.
And you ask them if they would consider an offer on their property.
Okay.
That's what I think people should do.
So you're saying
every ugly property.
Wholesaling.
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, if you don't have your license, and you go out and you're talking to people, you're either talking to them like you're going to buy it, right? You're going as the buyer.
Yep.
Or as a wholesaler. It just depends on your strategy, right? You represent other people that are going to buy this, cash buyers type of thing. But if you don't have a license, you have to watch out how you do that. You have to lock it up yourself. You have to commit to that deal. Right? So you want to get out there and be the buyer. You want to have that confidence that you could purchase that property if you need to. So I would find somebody, some mentor, somebody that's very successful in the market, right?
Yep.
And just say, hey, listen, if I find a smoking hot deal, would you buy it?
Right.
Every investor in every market will say yes.
Absolutely, as long as it's a deal.
So now you've got your money.
Okay.
Now you've got your money. Now you've got the confidence going out there that you can go and buy any house, any ugly house that you want.
Yep.
That's so powerful.
Yep.
That's so powerful. So now you just go, you find the ugly properties, you talk to the property owner, and you get the property under contract, and then you sell that contract to your money guy, or you close on it with them and partner with them. Just depends on the strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think most states are going to require people to get licensed.
Yeah.
I think
we were talking about that last week.
I think 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
Over the next 5 years, I think
Regulated.
most states are going to want to regulate wholesaling, want to get a piece of the action.
Right.
And I'm fine with that. So I think it's a smart move if you're young to get your real estate license. But I think it's a trap unless you want to represent people, unless you want to be an employee in the real estate business to be a real estate agent.
For sure. And I mean, we have differing beliefs on that one a little bit.
Tell me.
But that's just, I love the power of having a real estate license.
Okay.
I will tell you that if I were to start with wholesaling and then go get licensed,
Yeah.
I would be a lot more hesitant. But
Okay.
having going traditional to the investment world, I feel comfortable with the contracts. I feel comfortable knowing my rights as a buyer, what escrow looks like.
Okay.
So for me, I feel like the biggest issue 9 out of 10 times with people when you're trying to buy a house, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be price.
Yeah.
It's either price or motivation.
Yep.
And if they don't have the price point and they're like, hey, I want X amount of dollars, like let's just say 400,000, and you could offer like 290 to 300.
Yeah.
All we do is we flip our hat around, and I'm a listing agent now.
Got it.
So I'm like, hey, I know you want to sell. I understand the situation. How about I take care of you a little bit on the commission, and what we'll do is we'll make this a win-win, and then we list it.
Okay.
So rather than losing an opportunity, we're able to usually salvage something. So that's the only advantage I would say, and then obviously my strategy of the MLS deals.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, and I'd like to talk more about the MLS deals as well. I think that's a huge advantage. The only issue I have with it is 90 hours of school.
Yes.
4 tests to go through.
Dude, I suck at that.
Before you take action in real estate. The issue is, 1, it prevents people. It's a hurdle.
Right.
2, it's not an income producing activity. Like it's just getting that out of the way. It's just getting the education,
right?
And the education should come from the results that you're getting, the action that you're taking, the experience that you're having.
And this is where I'll challenge you a little bit too. Is again, 18 when they're fresh out of high school. I know a lot of when I got out, I had admins at the school, counselors, teachers telling me like, you are going to be a failure if you don't go to college.
Yeah.
Well, why are we not talking about the option of $40,000 for a university as opposed to $1,500 for real estate school?
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, when you put that into consideration of what the difference is schooling wise, I mean, I feel like if that was actually an option thrown to people, you would see a lot more. I mean, you already see so many realtors, but like you would see a lot more younger realtors popping in because what does it take? I mean, before you even go to college, you could take, instead of going on a summer trip fresh out of senior year, you could go to real estate school, get it knocked out. There's a girl on our team, Amber, shout out to her. She knocked it out in 3 weeks. 3 weeks she got a real estate license. And it's because she came in, shadowed one day, and she's like, I can do this. I can go get my real estate license. She's a great test taker. I mean, her and Albert, freaking first try for both of them.
Sure.
We could talk about my my failure with the test.
Right.
But, it's I understand what you're saying, but I think agree to disagree. There's a good benefit to having a license. So.
Love it.
Yep.
Good.
That's all the questions I got for you, man.
We both have our license. So
right? I know, right?
Anybody, you know what I mean?
And Albert.
Yeah,
Albert.
I mean, we all have our license. So.
Right. Well, that's all the questions I got for you, man.
Awesome.
I appreciate the rundown. I feel like it really opened up everybody's eyes to kind of get a roadmap of who is Brent Daniels and how you got to where you're at.
I think, listen, you know, either way, licensed, unlicensed, whatever it is, it comes down to being brave, having the courage to pick up the phone and talk to strangers.
I mean, shit, dude. To talk about, like, go get a wholesale deal under your belt, make $10K, go pay for the real estate school, write it off.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Like, there's options.
The issue is just distraction again,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
If I know that I could list a property, or I know that I could go in as a cash buyer, there's two ways now. Now it's kind of, am I confusing the property owner? Am I going after people that really should just be listing with somebody else and stay focused on going after bigger deals?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot to that.
For sure.
And I think if your energies are focused on getting big, massive deals and opportunities in your marketplace, then just go after wholesale deals or fix and flips.
I mean, I guess that's a good question to end it on. Quantity or quality of a deal? Do you prefer a bigger spread, or do you prefer smaller deals with more deals?
I like all deals.
Of
big
course,
or small.
of course.
I love all deals, big or small.
Of course.
But bigger deals.
Yeah.
100%.
I usually find that more people that I talk to now recently, they're investing into the bigger spreads. They'd rather go make, like the deal we're telling you about today, like 30-something thousand. Like, they'd rather make a deal like that happen rather than 2,500, 1,500, 2,500, 1,500.
100%.
Those ones, they are usually the headaches too. Those are the ones that plenty of other wholesalers on.
Big deals.
Awesome.
I like big deals and lots of them.
Yeah.
So both.
I love it.
It's not either or.
I love it.
There we go. Let's open this up.
Let's
we
do
good?
it.
Okay. Let's open this thing up.
How did you guys overcome the fear?
Yep.
Beto. Okay. I will tell you that it depends on what market you're in, but if you're in Arizona, from what it looks like it might be that photo, there's a pretty big market for here Spanish, if that's your first language. As for fear with me, it was realizing that, I think I'd said it last week, nobody's going to care about my business more than myself. So I have to be willing to put myself in there and just throw myself to the wolves and figure things out. And like we had said earlier on this show, was Google and YouTube are your best friend. There's plenty of people to network with and help guide you along the way. You just got to ask for it. So
I got one thing for you, Beto, here. To overcome the fear, I used to be the most shy kid ever, right? I'm the one in the corner. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But as I got older, how I got over it was, you go to the grocery store every day. You see a person that's a total stranger, the courtesy clerk, whatever. Talk to them, anything. Not just, hi, how are you doing? It's like, oh, like, well, how's your day going? That's how you get over the fear, because you have to interact with them anyway. Turn into a conversation, because they're a total stranger anyway. Yep. So overcome your fear. You see people at Target. You see people at your grocery store. Talk to them. And you'll never see them again.
TTP.
Chances are you're not going to see them again. So there you go.
Yeah, and listen, there's a lot... You know, first of all, gratitude always destroys fear, right? So just start with gratitude. Understand all the strengths that you have. So you got to put a checklist of all the positives that you have, all the things that you're good at. And so you start thinking, okay, I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful for that experience, and I'm grateful for these gifts and these skills. And okay, I've got the opportunity to work on these other things. So number one is stand up tall. Have a smile on your face, and just put in the work. Like, the reason people have fear is because they have time to be fearful. If you are in action, I am telling you, that is all you're thinking of. All you're thinking of is what am I going to say in this next moment? What am I going to say? Who am I going to talk to?
Right.
Is this going to be the one out of 200 people that I talk to that is going to be a true opportunity for me? So it's 1, being in action, 2, being grateful, 3, standing up tall, 4, smiling, and just like Albert was saying, just like be comfortable sharing yourself with the world.
For
be
sure.
comfortable bringing joy and a smile and a good attitude and optimism into the world that surrounds you. That is, be the magnet. You know what I mean? Be the magnet that has that energizing enthusiasm about life, and you're going to win.
Right.
Yep.
That's a good one.
There you go.
Do you use Podio and PropStream? I do not use PropStream, but we have our own custom Podio that our boy Albert made. And then I know you use PropStream, and there's a code here, right? TTP?
Yeah, ttpdata.com, PropStream. I do, Craig. Now, locally here, we will pull lists from PropStream. I also have access to our MLS and to a really good service, tax assessor service called Monsoon through our MLS that we do a lot of our comping through. Although I'll look at PropStream for some of those in between the lines kind of facts that are in PropStream, whether they have liens on the property, whether they, the length of ownership is really obvious there. Some of the neighbors, it's really easy to click in and see what the 100 neighbors closest to it have sold for. And I literally use PropStream probably 50 times a day comping deals for students around the country.
Do you use Podio?
A podio, yes. I have a custom podio built by Rafael Cortez, a Wholesaling Inc. coach, and it's absolutely bananas. It's next level.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, but Craig, here's the thing. When you're starting out and you don't have like hundreds and hundreds of, and I don't know where you're at, Craig, so I'm just assuming that if you're just starting out, and this is for everybody, you don't need a CRM. Listen to me. You don't need a CRM. Just print it out. Just have them organized. Have them organized and close.
Or Google Sheets, Excel, like anything.
Sure. But just people get lost in their CRM and then they don't do the income producing activities, which is talking to people and lead generation, converting those leads into a signed contract, and then either selling them or flipping them or keeping those smoking hot deals.
Right.
Yeah. Freddie.
What's the difference between batch leads and batch skip tracing? Batch skip tracing, you can actually have, it's within batch leads. But batch leads is basically, at this point, we're using it almost like a CRM in itself too. You could stack lists in there, you could pull data, you could skip trace data, you can move it right from batch leads to the batch dialer. I don't think I missed anything on that, did I?
Yeah, so batch leads is their stacker. So you take all the lists that you have and you put them in there, and you can see multiple layers of distress, which is huge because you want to go after those ones really aggressively. If they're behind on taxes and they have code violations and it's on your driving for dollars, those are really, really, multiple layers of distress are going to be more motivated property owners typically. It just depends. So it'll stack that. It also does the text blasting, and you can do your skip tracing in there. So if you have batch leads, you can skip trace right through it. If you don't have batch leads, you can go to batch skip and just get the phone numbers for the addresses that you're trying to get a hold of, Freddie. Yeah.
Good question.
Paul.
What if you started in your 40s? It's never too late.
Paul, here it is. Will you put up, Matt, the 5 steps? It's all the same. I'm just this is specifically designed to communicate to anybody under 30. Just some of the structure on what to do as you're starting to build your success, so that you can stay on the path and not make the mistakes that I made. So it starts out with first just doing a deal. Right? Finding an opportunity, building that confidence, taking yourself from the faith that you can be a real estate entrepreneur to a fact that you can do it. And then getting to the point where you're doing that over and over to where you can go full time in the real estate business, because the more time you can put into it, the more effort, the more action that you can put into it, the faster it's going to go. The more opportunities you're going to find. And that's why you can shorten that timeline. Most millionaires, we talked about it last week, most millionaires don't hit it till they're 51 years old. We're trying to carve off 20 plus years on that, if not more. And to be able to do that, you got to really be able to commit to being a real estate entrepreneur, killing off the debt. We want to let our money work for us, not give it to somebody else. And now our money's working for them, so we pay off the debt. Then we start investing in the assets, making that money work for us, and that's when you get to the financial freedom. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the blueprint. Awesome.
All right, from Maurice, I set an appointment just for practice with a seller who has a market-ready property. Should I try to wholesale this property or give it to a local realtor? What would you do in this case?
Maurice, listen, anytime a property owner says that it's market-ready or it's clean or whatever, I would refer it to a local. Yeah. Well, no, listen, if it's in good shape.
So we're talking.
Here's the thing. It could be a lie.
Yeah. There's two different outcomes here.
It could be that they think that their property's in better shape than it is.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because they think it is.
And if they
think it is,
that goes back to price.
What do you think?
They're going to want too much money. The one thing it will tell you is the local realtor, if you're not licensed, will not be able to pay you a commission since you're not licensed.
A referral fee.
But they should be able to find a way to compensate you some way or another.
Yeah.
So.
So what I would say, Maurice, is get the price. Pre-qualify them, right?
Yeah.
We pre-qualify every single deal every single time based on the condition of the property,
Right.
their timeline to sell that property, their motivation to sell it, or what's their problem, and their price. Now listen to me. If you want to get deeply discounted properties, there has to be motivation. There has to be a problem that a cash as is offer solves.
Right.
We are deal finders. We are not deal creators. Okay? So in that sense, you have to see, is the motivation there strong enough for them to take a discounted price for that property? If not, then the best option for them is to put it on the market and get as much money for that property as possible.
Yep.
So don't force it. We don't convince anybody. It's not about convincing. It's not about magic words. It's not about, right? It's not about, somebody just making a decision because of, the scripts that you're using.
Don't have a magic wand.
No. It's about having a good quality conversation and seeing what's best for that property owner.
For sure.
Yep. I love that you have that appointment.
Right. Do you, I'm assuming that's sell
Do you
land.
all-
Do you
land.
sell land in the same way when you come across it through phone? Yeah, I mean, we've got a really good connection to a land guy out here. And so any type of referral that comes into us through land, we send it over his way. And then he refers us over our traditional business as well. So I would say, yes, it's all the same process. There's just a few extra little steps in there, like with the survey. And you've got to make sure like the utilities are on, if there's a well, all that fun jazz. But yeah, use your phone, call them, text them. Obviously, you're not going to go door knock land. So
Yeah, Wendell, with land, listen, here's the thing. Don't overthink it, right? If you think that it's a good deal, put it in front of your buyers. Now, like Ryan was mentioning, they're probably going to want to know some things about the property before they can make a decision. Are there utilities going to the property? What is the property zoned? What is the building envelope of that property?
Yep.
But you can sell a lot of properties to the next door neighbors.
literally.
I am telling you, the best buyers,
Yep.
and they don't even care about any of that
Yep.
because they probably already know most of that. You call every property that borders that piece of land
Yep.
and see if they want to double their lot size. Because I'll tell you this, in a lot of neighborhoods around the country, people are using those lots like they own it anyway. All
Literally,
right?
yeah.
So the thought that they have to get their old boat and their old cars and all their old, play equipment. Some people put playgrounds on empty lots that aren't theirs. They have to move all that stuff because a new owner's going to come in and they don't know if they're going to build a house that they agree with or
Right.
don't agree with. And so they want to have the freedom to finally own this. A lot of neighbors buy those lots, Wendell. So don't sleep on the neighbors as well. Find out as much as you can. Simply call down to the zoning, the
Planning
zoning
and development,
department
yeah.
or planning and development department in your area, and they'll give you the scoop on each piece of land, each parcel, and so you can get that information so that people can make a quick decision.
Love it.
Yep. We love land deals, Wendell. A lot of people sleep on land. Pete.
Here we go.
Christopher Brent. I live in the UK. All right. We're
There we
getting
go.
global.
There we go.
Come on, Albert. Planning to come down for 3 months to Drive for Dollars. Is it a good idea as I'll be spending 2 to 3 months? Pete, you can do virtual driving for dollars.
Yeah, don't drive out
if
here
you're
for
going to
that.
come over here for 3 months, come to like experience and be around really successful investors and network and squat up with people that are here,
Right.
find some boots on the ground, find
Yep.
people that can really help you determine is this a deal or not a deal when you do come across them. But on this channel, look for the virtual driving for dollars. You can do it all through Google Maps. You need to have Google Chrome as your browser. But download that, get the extension to Deal Machine, and boom, you're driving for dollars virtually just clicking, and you don't have to come here to drive around. You don't have to do that. You can do that right now. You could do that right now and show and screen flow it, the instructions, the 30 minutes, and record that screen on your computer and take my video, the Driving for Dollars, take those 2 videos of you doing it and me doing it, send it to a VA for $4 or $5 an hour, and they can start doing it for 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week. Yeah. If you're going to come to Squat Up, Pete.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
All right, from Michael, I am struggling going from random deals to consistent deals per month. When I first started the program that taught me everything about wholesaling, they always said that their favorite experience is watching the people go from 1 to 2 deals a month, or even 1 every other month, to the point to where you could do 2, 3, all the way up to 5 deals a month.
Yeah.
Once you can get past that hurdle, it's just then systems and processes and consistency. What I can tell you is if you're struggling to go from random deals, you might be looking at too many things. I would say that you might want to try to build better relationships with buyers and focus on, like, for example, with myself, I started doing wholesaling, made $250,000 in assignment fees by working with 5 buyers. I knew 3 of them were wholesalers, and that was okay. I didn't care if they were to dispo it out and make more money, because as long as I was asking for my price and they gave it, I was good to go. So really just connect your boat to a bigger boat and find somebody that can help with whatever it is you're struggling with. Is it buyers? Is it looking at deals? Is it a niche specific? Is it like, are you looking at land, commercial, townhouse, condo, single family, mobile homes all in one day? Maybe you should then try to break it down into one specific niche. So that'd be the best advice I've got for you. What about you?
Yeah, it's lead generation.
Lead generation.
That's the answer. It's consistent lead generation. So lead generation comes down to 3 things, Michael. You're either buying those conversations through marketing, either those are coming in, and so it's an inconsistency with your marketing schedule, or you get them from referrals. And that means you've built up a good network of people that are constantly referring. That means that your network of people referring you business is not big enough for you to build a consistent business. That takes a while, and it takes a lot of consistent networking and relationship building. And number 3 is if you're being proactive, if you're going out there, then it comes down to your schedule. Then it comes down to, are you still hunting for opportunities the same amount of time every week as you did to find the opportunities that you closed? So that's why I always suggest, being proactive, setting aside, finding those 3 hours a day, if you can do this full time, 3 hours a day to be able to hunt for opportunities and just make it sacred time. And then you have to start every day at 0. You've got 0 leads, you got 0 money in the bank, you got 0 opportunities, you got 0 deals pending, and for those 3 hours, you pretend
you're
that
broke.
that nothing else is happening. Nothing else in life you have to deal with for those 3 hours. It's sacred time. This is money time.
Green time.
And you start building that discipline in there, then you're gonna get consistent deals. But consistent deals all come from consistent lead generation. And one of the tough parts is, Michael, you go out there and you crush a $35,000 deal, and you're like, oh, let's celebrate, let's grow the business, let's hire people, let's do this, let's do that, and all of a sudden you're in this tornado of other things taking up your energy, and then the last thing that you will do is your lead generation. You kind of put it to the side,
right?
And then that's why
that's
we
the ebbs and flows.
That's why we roller coaster. Yep. Awesome. Orlando.
All right. Hi, guys. Should I use my personal phone number to cold call or use a different phone? I have done both. I mean, we've used our personal cell phone to pick up the phone and call sellers. There's been times that we have the dialer, and we have all of our numbers that are tied differently that are not our cell phone. But there's times you're going to call a lead and they're going to ghost you. You're going to set up an appointment, they're not going to answer. Guess what? The best thing you could do is use somebody on your team's phone. Use your phone. I don't think that there is a right or wrong way to do this. I just say get on the phones. But I'm sure you've got a different opinion on that.
Well, Orlando, if you can, do whatever you can to get a dialer. And if you get a dialer, they're going to give you some caller IDs, and I think that is most effective. Now, with lead follow-up, I would always use my personal cell phone number so that they had it, and my team, my acquisition managers now that do the lead follow-up all use their own number. So if it's just cold calling like you're talking about here, I would get a dialer. If not, then I would probably get a call rail number that you're calling from, or a sideline number that you're calling from.
Have it forwarded to your number.
Yeah, and use that for your calls.
Yeah, if it's gonna be a big list, though, I agree with you. I think a dialer is the most effective.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
Because you got to talk to 200 people. How are you going to talk to 200 people in 20 hours without technology?
Man, oh
it's
man,
impossible.
My team.
It's impossible. Yeah, you would have to have a lot of people doing it. But you just personally, you need to get a dialer.
Right.
Yep. Leverage technology, Orlando.
Ooh.
Andres, what do I do for fun outside of real estate? Thank you. I love that question. Obviously, I read a lot. I really enjoy reading. I'm kind of a dork when it comes to, in the evenings, I'll read business, autobiographies, this type of thing. But when I lay down to go to bed, I'll read for another half hour, 45 minutes of like sci-fi.
There you go.
Or all graphic novels. I love that. Like it gives me great wild dreams, you know what I mean? So I'll have a little Kindle that I read at night, and it's usually something that's just wacky. It's something sci-fi.
There you go.
And something very, very imaginative. So, yeah. There you go. So reading, I would say reading, and listen, when you have young kids, that's what you do outside of real estate. So they are very, 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 very active. And so it's just a lot of entertaining children. I've got a cabin up north. We love going up north. It's a lot cooler than Phoenix. So we do a lot. We go up north and enjoy the cabin and just spending time with family. Every Friday, my parents come over, and we have one of those Facebook portals. And so it's like a big FaceTime machine.
Yeah.
And we'll call my sister who lives in Boston. We'll do a little happy hour for an hour. We'll have pizza, wings. My parents stay till 8. We put the kids down. And then my wife and I just go into the basement and just chat it up and have some glasses of wine. And then the weekend, opens up on Saturday, and it's kid time.
There you go.
Yeah. Michael.
For Michael again, I've been trying email blasting, but my accounts keep getting suspended.
Yeah.
Are email blasting and text blasting a gray area legally? I know texting is getting very heavily regulated. The whole reason I stopped doing a bunch of email blasting myself was because I was getting a lot of kickback, and MailChimp just kept blocking my accounts. So full transparency on that. But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of guys that still, obviously, dispo-wise, they still have a pretty big email blast. I know there's steps inside their systems where you have to make sure you're not just spamming a bunch of people. You have to put actual legitimate emails in there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would just say the one that I know specifically, text blasting, is getting very heavily regulated.
Yeah, Michael, if you got permission for the email, then it shouldn't be a problem.
And I think you need to have like an opt-out button on there too. Like you need to a bunch of like legality stuff on there, but
there's certain things that go. Also, what we do just to keep our list fresh and to make sure that they're delivered is if people haven't opened up multiple emails in like 90 days or 6 months, we remove them.
Okay.
So one is also open rate and deliverability. You want to get rid of all the ones that are dead emails or they're just not opening them up. And so that helps deliver. Your deliverability rate will rank and help out whether or not they're going to let you email out a big group. And typically you have to chunk it up into smaller groups. Yeah.
All right.
SimCon.
Go ahead.
My phone numbers I use for call rail keep coming up as scam likely really quick. What's the best way around that? Google the number before you commit to it. You get to preview the number, SimCon. Just Google it and see if it comes up as spam likely. If it does, choose a different number. And then just keep switching it up. Check that every week. Keep Googling that number to make sure. And if it pops up as spam likely or you see your contact rate going down, switch it up.
Get a new one. Yep. Good answer.
Yeah. Thank you. Maurice.
What are the best ways to get a price out of a motivated seller?
Get them.
Yeah, so for us, it's all about building rapport. When we go into our appointments, we're fully expecting to be there for 45 minutes to an hour. We've already walked in and we've gotten like all of our comps out. And then it's basically just figuring out, kind of like what Brent was saying earlier, what is their motivation? Their motivation is going to determine how quickly they're looking to get out of the house and then what that price point obviously is going to be. And if they've got a high motivation to sell, you can get their price out a little bit lower. For us, I like to use a lot of the Sandler training skills. And so I like to give them a range. You probably wouldn't be open to an offer lower between this and this. And if they say, yeah, you're right, no way, that's where I flip my hat around and it's going to be a listing appointment. Now, if I were to say you probably wouldn't accept 140, 150, and they're like, Probably not. Yeah, you're gonna go to town on that, and you're gonna be like, okay, well, look, based off this, and this, I like to break it all down as to why our number's where it's at. I'm not hiding anything. I say, look, my price of where I could sell it after is going to be here. I'm going to have to put this much into rehab. I'm going to have to make this much money in hard money costs. This is interest only payments. I also need you to understand that I'm an investor, and because I'm putting up all this money and I have all this work being done, I'd like to make some. So my typical money is about $25,000-$30,000. Now you've got all of that broken down. The only time I ever run into an issue is when the seller's like, it's not going to be $60,000 to rehab this property. I could do it all myself for $15,000. And then at that point, you just stand there training. Okay, well, I'm assuming that you've already talked to a contractor to get all that work done yourself. And then at that point, knowing their motivation, what their financial situation is, you could tell that by being in their house. You'll know very quickly how capable they are of being able to go in and do that rehab. And if they aren't, listing or buy, you'll be able to get the deal.
Yeah, and I think part of that rapport building, part of opening up that conversation, especially if it's a cold call or if it's just a cold relationship, and you're starting to warm up the conversation, start with the condition of the property. Start warming it up. The longer that they talk, Maurice, the more comfortable they're going to be with opening up on what their goals are. I think you can ask them, what is your goal for this property? What is your goal price for this property? I think it's an interesting question.
What do you need to net?
Sure. I mean, just every property owner that we work with has a specific number in mind. Once they get that number, then they're ready to move forward and sell the property. What would that number be for you? Right? It looks like you've owned this property for a while. What have your neighbors been selling their properties for in similar condition? You're just trying to feel it out. Hey, Mr. Seller, if you totally, if you had a magic wand and boom, you could just make this property everything, just pristine, everything upgraded, updated, where would you spend the money? Okay, the kitchen, okay, bathrooms, okay, you'd put in a pool, okay, you'd finish the basement, okay, great. What do you think that would cost? $80,000. Okay, fantastic. $80,000. That makes sense. I think that's pretty reasonable, right? I'm confirming, I'm improving, I'm going through all that. Okay, $80,000. That's fantastic. So then once it's all, you took that magic wand, you hit it. The house is just the best in the block. What do you think it sells for?
Yep.
Okay, got it. So it would sell for $250,000. You need to put $70,000 into it. There's some costs obviously associated with selling it, with realtor costs, title, and escrow. It looks like, all in, you would probably be at about $150,000. Does that sound about right? Yeah. So if I could get you $130,000 without any of that hassle, would that be something that you would consider? And then they go from there, right? Yep. So I would use any one of those, Maurice. And honestly, what I have found is the absolute biggest and best deals of all time is when they give you the price first. When they're just like, hey, listen, if I get $100,000 for this, I am gone. If I get $200,000, if I get $800,000 for this, I am gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good one. That was a great role play.
Thank you. I've done it a few times.
Right. Ooh, from Paul. How to pick a market with big deals.
Price point. Two things determine that, Paul. Number one is what your ability to negotiate, your ability to get that property at a really, really good price. That's number one. Number two is if your strategy is wholesaling, if we're talking about big deals, if your strategy is just flipping, then it's just negotiating. You make money when you buy it, okay? And then you're selling it. If it is sending it out and wholesaling it, which I assume that it is, it's how many cash buyers do you have? How big of a cash buyer database do you have? Because the more cash buyers that you have, the more different options, different exit strategies people have. Some people want to keep it in their portfolio. They're going to pay more than somebody that's going to flip a house.
Right.
And then somebody that wants to live there, they'll pay the most.
Yep.
They'll pay so much more than a flipper. So that's two things, Paul, price point. And I would highly suggest that you go after properties in a market that their aftermarket value, their fixed up value, the ARV is above $150,000. Because a lot of the country, you know what the average house in the country is?
No idea.
217.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's low, surprisingly to me.
217.
Okay.
There are a lot of markets around the country that have a lot of properties under 100,000. And they've always been under 100,000. obviously.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, these are older properties that
Is
are
that
worth
that's the average?
The average is 217 for the country.
Wow.
Based on 2020 census.
Wow.
Not Little Rock, though.
Not Little Rock. No, we did a comp in Little Rock, and it was like 1,500.
I was just in Little Rock.
Really?
Yeah, when I drove back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Abril.
All right. Is the Austin area still a good place to wholesale, or is it too hot? I have friends that crush it in Austin, so.
Yeah, Abril, it is this. Abril, it is very similar to like a San Diego market. You will not do a lot of deals. You're just not going to do a lot, but the size of deals are going to be big.
Bigger spreads.
They're going to be bigger. Unless you have a very, very, very hefty $1 million plus budget for marketing and lead generation, in those markets, people will outspend you.
So where in Texas would you recommend? Which market if they're looking for an alternative?
I don't mind. I mean, Austin would be great. If you live there, go for it. Just what I would do is 100% focus on driving for dollars, vacant land, and multifamily. The absentee owner list is destroyed. I mean, you'll have to talk to a lot more people on that if you just pull like a tired landlord list, like a traditional non-owner occupied, they've owned it 7 years or more list. It's going to be beat up. And pre-foreclosures, probates, inherited, tax default, all of those are just going to be totally ripped apart. That's where you're going to have to build your driving for dollars, go after the vacant land, and go after multifamily.
And I also like the buyers, finding your buyers. Like I mean, I said a minute ago, finding like 5 to 10 like very legit buyers.
Yeah.
Then you're on a hunt. Then it can go and find relationships with other wholesalers that have properties in the areas your buyers are looking for. Yep. So that's what a lot of my friends in Austin do.
Yeah. Awesome.
From Audra. Do you tell the seller how much you are wanting to make on the rehab? So we don't tell them like how much we're wanting to make on the deal, but we tell them how much we're estimating rehab to be if they ask. And that's only really ever brought up if they're trying to tell me that my offer's too low. They're like, how'd you get there? Well, at that point, I'll break it down. I'll reverse engineer everything for them because I've got nothing to hide. When they're going to tell me, oh, your $60,000 budget's crazy, I'm like, look, I mean, we've got bathrooms at $5K. We've got kitchen I can put $10K in. We got $6 a square foot for flooring. That's not counting base, trim, paint. I haven't even talked about landscaping back with the backyard or the front yard. I'm not even talking roof, AC. If there's a pool, no pool, like you could give them a whole elaborate answer on the rehab. But for me, I always try to hide that without getting into the rehab cost, unless they were to tell me that my price is too low. Then I'll break it down for them.
Well, maybe you guys differ than my business. You guys sound like you guys are breaking down the economics of the deal more than we do. We almost never do, Audra. We give a price, and that's the price. Very rarely with a truly motivated property owner that we're going to directly to them do we have to explain our offer. Okay, explain the breakdown of the offer. You guys do a lot in the MLS. You're dealing with a lot of hand holding. Yep. You're dealing with, hey, this is how you go and talk to your clients about why we're doing this, right?
Yep.
It's a totally different thing as opposed to somebody that's like, hey, I'm going to foreclose my house in like a week. Can you help me?
Right.
You know, or somebody that is, hey, this property's been destroyed. I just want to get rid of it.
For sure,
embarrassed by this, or I just inherited it. So I think that there's a couple different parts there, Audra. Very rarely do we have to explain why we are offering what we're offering. We just say that this is the price that we're willing to give them for the property based on its condition.
For sure. And I think if they have a high motivation to sell like that, yeah, you got to give them
there you go.
You got to give them that. Don't give them that. So.
Well, oftentimes I feel like it intimidates people, and
right.
What I have found personally, because I went real estate hat, break it down, show them, hey, this is what you make. If you put it on the MLS, this is what you make. If you sell it to me cash, this is how much I think that the repairs are going to be. And people would look at the repair costs and they would get embarrassed.
Right.
They would be like, oh my gosh, like my property's that bad. As opposed to if I didn't say anything and just said, this is what I could offer, they'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, this instance of like, I've got a week to sell.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Just hit them with that offer and just keep going.
Like you go and you like get a bid on, what is this going to cost me to fix up my house that I live in? And people tell you
$70,000? What?
Like, Oh my
Right.
gosh, I feel bad. Yeah. So I think there's some of that.
Good balance though.
Tony.
All right. I'm new. Should I get an LLC now or do a few deals first? I'm also thinking about seller providing credibility. And providing credibility by having an LLC.
Right.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, I started with getting an LLC right away. I just didn't know any better. The course that I was in told me to, so I did. With that said, though, I coach a lot of people that they do not put an LLC. They like to go with just their personal name. I'd actually be curious to see your opinion on that. If I had to give advice, I would say get an LLC. But
yeah, it differs because some states are more expensive than others to file an LLC and to do it. The timeline to be able to have it filed and have it ready. Arizona's great because it's pretty much instant.
Yeah,
you could just go down to the Corporation Commission. They're just like, boom, stamp, give us money, and it's done. So it just depends on where you're at, Tony. The big thing is I don't want that to distract you from lead generation. I don't want that to distract you from being able to do that. So, I mean, honestly, for putting together an LLC, typically it takes about 45 minutes to actually like fill out the paperwork and do it, and then to submit it. And so just don't let that stop you from taking action. And don't just hallucinate and assume that every seller is going, because I used to do this. I used to be like, oh, I need to have all this. I need to, having the logo and the polos and and everything set up, and that's going to be credibility. What was it?
Business cards.
Business cards. It's all going to be credibility. It really has not mattered, truly, Tony. So just take the action. Make sure that your lead generation take 45 minutes, an hour. At night, fill out the paperwork, submit it, and then it should be back, and you should be rocking and rolling. But an LLC is more for your benefit. It's more for your ability to write off the expenses,
liability, and then tax purpose. Yeah,
exactly. So I haven't seen it. A truly motivated seller is not like, wait, you're going to buy it in your name versus an LLC. Listen, let me explain something. There is not a show that homeowners are watching right now, like you guys are watching this right now, that is explaining to them how to make sure this cash buyer is the real cash buyer. Okay, there's just not a show. There's not seminars for homeowners.
They don't even know that you wholesale a deal and put it into a different LLC, man. Like they're not sitting there like, wait a second, Ryan Zolin, he's not credible.
Right,
like, come on.
Right, there's just not that. So I would just go with the confidence that you're out there bringing an incredible service to your community. And I think if you go with that, servant heart, you win.
I mean, you can even pitch it to them and say, look, like I'm putting my name on this contract. That's my commitment. Like you can spin that however you want.
Yeah. There you go.
Ooh, okay. Do you think text blast is a good way to get a deal? I just had our team turn off text blasting. We are not into that game anymore. We're seeing too much of our response rate go down and everything being regulated. It's not it anymore. So
the answer I always give is test it. Listen, we've done probably, over $500,000 this year in text deals. All right. So it works. It's not working where you can send out 20,000 a day, but I don't think you would anyway. So I think that if you can't get a hold of somebody picking up the phone and calling them, I think that you have to try some other way. If the door is not open, see if the window is type of situation.
Right.
So I think that could be case by case. I don't think that you should, like Ryan's telling you, Ryan's answer is basically don't set up your whole business for this because you're going to have to like pivot soon. If it's all based on that, but I think that it can be a supplemental way to generate leads.
And I mean, we still use texting, but mostly it's with our personal cells. It's once we've established like that this is the actual seller, and then like you can even get that when you're cold calling. You'll see that it's a voicemail and it'll have their name. Send them a text.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Awesome.
From Corey. Is it?
Oh.
Okay, here we go. This is classes in session.
Yeah.
Is it possible to list a wholesale house on the MLS?
I think this should be. I really think this should be next week's whole episode.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because we want to go up the ladder.
Yep.
Right.
I'm game.
Do a deal.
Yep.
I mean, I could tell them how to do. I told them how to do a deal in 5 minutes.
Yep.
I think it's going to take longer for you. I think it'd be a good topic for next week.
Okay.
It's how to get deals off of the MLS. So Corey, I'm really not sure if you're talking about Like once you lock up a deal, putting it on the MLS for disposition, or if it's generating deals from the MLS.
I think so. For the second question, yes. What I think he's referring to is, can he list a property with equitable interest on the MLS without having maybe, I don't know if it's with a license, without a license, but the answer is yes, you can. You just need the seller to sign off in the contract, basically understanding it will be listed. I know a lot of guys that have like a 5-page contract that's listed in there that we may put this on the MLS. We're not sure what we're going to do with it yet. And as long as you verbally explain that to the seller, the only thing that would ever get sticky is that you would have a seller that's going to have random people showing up to their house. It's going to be on the MLS. It's for the biggest buyers list out there, which is on market. But yes, short answer, which we can dive very more into next week, is yes to both.
There's a couple of things that happen there, Corey, and this is from personal experience. One, our MLS doesn't like it.
Correct.
Even if you have the paperwork, they don't like it. The reason they don't like it is because there is an education process with the real estate agent. Okay, the real estate agent needs to understand that it's a cash as is situation.
Right.
And sometimes they want to negotiate, and then they want to know, are they negotiating with the actual owner? And they don't understand what equitable interest is.
Correct.
They don't understand that having a contract on the property and having the right documentation, the right verbiage in that contract. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Awesome, Corey.
Yep.
The right information on that contract. They're still confused that why is this person selling this property if they don't own it?
Yep. And then that person's paying me commission, and that comes out of your assignment fee. And then there's also the inspection period. If they are not cash because they were able to negotiate a loan, which I've done a couple of those deals, then there's an appraisal. And then there's final walkthrough if they walk in. Yeah. It's just, there's a lot of variables in there. But with that said, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that crush it. And then, I mean, I've even got guys that do like novations doing that too.
Sure. So there is strategy there, Corey. One, you just got to make sure that your MLS allows it.
Yep.
And that you educate those
other parties.
Agents.
Yep.
The agents are really who you have to educate so that they can educate their buyers.
Right.
And then from there, you need to make sure that the owner understands that this property is literally going to be open to the world.
Yep. Because
once you put it on the MLS,
the odds of them seeing it too. I mean, they could.
Oh, they're definitely going to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, but not definitely. But now it's on Zillow. Now it's on Redfin. Now it's on realtor.com. Now it's around the whole world.
Yep.
So you can. It's a great strategy, but
I think that's a good topic for next week.
It's a big conversation. Yeah.
I like that.
Getting deals and selling deals. Getting deals on the MLS. Well, do a deal will be the topic, but getting them specifically off the MLS. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be, I think it's going to blow people's faces off. I really do. I think
so
it's
too.
exciting. I like that we set the groundwork. People know who you are. People know who I am.
Yep.
That's cool. We spent the hour, getting through hour and a half, getting through that. Now let's get into like the what you do.
Let's get into how to triple
income.
Yep.
To first, we work to make money, and then our money works for us, and that's how you truly build wealth. And so we're going to get really, it's exciting. We're going to take the flamethrower to it next week.
Let's go.
Yep. One more,
yeah.
And we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure that you join us next week for learning how to get deals off the MLS. All right, Christopher.
Go ahead.
How should I deal with a seller who wants to sell on the market but does not know what to sell it for? The property needs a good amount of work.
I'm curious to know why, this is just asking the right questions, why the seller wants to put it on the market but doesn't know what they want to sell it for. Because to me, it sounds like they're motivated, but if they're not that motivated and they're just like, I know I could get more if I put it on market, that's usually the belief. It's just asking the question to them. Like the one that I'd said a little bit ago was, what do you need to net, or what are you looking to net here? From there, if you can get the number out of them, you'll be able to figure out maybe it is more of the listing route or maybe it's more of the investment route. But for me, I'd say that a little bit more rapport needs to be built to figure out what their reasoning is. So
what instantly came to my brain from this question is timeline.
Yep.
If they don't know what they want for it, but they want to put it on the market, they're not ready to sell it.
I'd agree with that.
because they'd already be they'd be doing research.
They would have had a realtor.
They would have talked to a real estate agent.
Yep.
They would have had a price in mind.
How many sellers don't know what their own house is worth? Like, I mean, that's usually the biggest complaint I'd have, and what got me away from traditional is that everybody knows, well, Sally down the street sold theirs. Yeah, it's 300 square feet bigger, has a basement with a pool, it's all this, whatever. But mine has, like, regardless if it needs amount of work, like, I like that.
Yeah, it's timeline there, Christopher. So I would just find out when they want to sell and why they want to sell. What is the motivation behind it? Do they have a problem, or can they just sit on this thing for a while, and when they want to put it on the market, they'll put it on the market? But I don't feel the motivation coming from that question. So I would try to find the timeline, and I would just ask them, if you got the price that you wanted, would you be willing to close in the next 30 days?
Right.
And see what they say. That's the question that I would ask them.
Yep.
If you got the price that you wanted, or you got something that you felt was reasonable, would you be willing to sell the property and close on it and get your money in the next 30 days?
And if they say yes, at that point, you know that they've got a good amount of motivation to sell, they'd be willing to walk away for the right number. And then at that point, it's just reverse engineering what that price is to, again, figure out listing or investment.
You got it.
Good question.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. Millionaire Before 30. We're here to show you the path of what to do and what not to do on your journey to becoming a millionaire before 30. But remember, it has to be in your heart. It has to be something that fulfills you. It has to be something that you find joy out of. Happiness is fantastic, but fulfillment of potential, being that joy in that fulfillment, that's really what is exciting. That's really the target, right? So stay focused, keep that enthusiasm, that energizing enthusiasm, and take action every single day. You know, this is not rocket science. I'm telling you, if you are proactive and you're talking to new people every single day, you are going to win. You're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win, because other people won't do it. Other people are going to give in to their fears. Other people are going to give in to their doubt and their disappointment and the distraction of everything going on in life. Don't let that pull you down. Watch out for those 3 L's, especially that 18 to 30. That is liquor, ladies or lads, and leverage. Really, really, really watch that, and you'll be in a great place. Final thoughts?
Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Episode 2 was super fun. I'm really stoked about next week's with the MLS and diving in deep with that. So looking forward to getting some good questions from you guys. Don't hold back. I'm an open book, and we'll get it going for you guys.
Awesome.
So appreciate you guys. Shout out to Albert being here.
Albert.
And thank you guys
Happy
for
to be
listening.
here.
See you guys.
See you guys. Love you guys. Awesome.
Black boy joy, she wanna see the Forbes like I wanna see her form.